AM 1220 KDOW and Money 2.0 present The Real Estate Report with Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines. Bay Area real estate and mortgage experts with over 25 years in the business. Now, with an in-depth look at this week's local and national real estate news and what it means for you. Your hosts, Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines.
Welcome into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
Thanks for being with us as usual, a Drive Time special.
Every Thursday we're here from 6 to 7. Time is changing right now. It's getting dark now during our drive time. So people, keep your eyes on the road.
I think we'll be lucky to anybody's listening. They're probably switching over to the Raiders game about now. You know what? We might spoil it for some people.
Well, you know, this is a sports fan's dream. You got basketball just starting out.
Yep.
You got football in high swing. You got the baseball about to wrap up, and hockey just starting out.
Yeah, it's like, and the kids are in school during the day,
And
so
the
it's
kids are in
perfect.
school. Right.
We are a real estate show. You can call the show 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220, and you can email the show. Just email me, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com. 30-year fixed rates are looking pretty good. Gordon, they dipped a little bit. You were just saying before the air, I was like, oh, should we talk about applications? Yeah, I think applications are kind of a pulse of what's going on in the nation. Now, let's teach a little bit of math here. If you have 100,000 applications and they rise 2,000, that's 2%. All right. If you have 200,000 applications on average and it rises to 2,000, that's 1%. So even though we saw a rise in 3.6% in applications, it's still, we're really looking at low numbers. And this kind of formula you can translate into housing. We don't have a lot of housing right now. So we're going to talk later about how, we saw housing drop 6-point-something%, the inventory, or in some places are like 19%, another place 10%, and then we have a rise in inventory. These are all based on smaller numbers. So we're really looking at anemic levels on applications, on purchases, refinances, everything right now.
Well, if you look at it from, like you just said, from a number standpoint or from an economic standpoint, if you look at real estate in itself, if you look at inventory continue to fall month in, month out, even if applications go up, it's still going up a smaller percentage because it's just not enough housing for people to be applying for new purchase transactions.
Small percentages off of small numbers
so
it equals an anemic real estate economy right now, unless you're a seller, of course, or you're a buyer and you can outbid your competitor over there and your competitor over there and your competitor there. We have actually a really good email from somebody we're going to get to later, and he wants to cash out on his property down here in South Bay somewhere, and he wants to take out money to buy property in Vegas, which, by the way, they're looking at double-digit year-over-year returns right now, and he wants to get in the market. Rents are going up, and home prices are going up, and he's like, this is where I want to go. Now, my opinion on Vegas is a little bit different. It's a desert. All right, it's one of those cities. What are the 4 cities in the United States that shouldn't have been built? Vegas?
Las Vegas is one of them. New Orleans is another one because of the low water table.
And there's a couple other ones. So we have desire to go there for the pure cash flow, but so we're going to talk about that a little bit later as we get to the show. Again, you can call the show 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220. So rates are good, and what I have to say about rates is for a refinance, and I don't want people to get caught up in rate as much because even if you can't lower your rate by 1%, we've seen people do refinances going where it only drops 0.25%, but they're re-amortizing, and their loan amount's considerably lower than their original loan amount. So sometimes a refinance, and I don't want to say even at the same rate, it's all about managing your money. And with these high loan values, maybe you've increased your credit score, maybe your value's gone up, which most people have, and this could result in better rates. And there's other people looking to drop mortgage insurance and take cash out. So pay attention to the benefit in the long run instead of just the rate. And then for people who are purchasing, you have to kind of realize that you're caught with whatever timing it is. You really can't control that. What we find a lot of people doing is saying, well, rates are low, I can do a lower cost loan. But what we don't like about large banks, places that you actually walk into, or you go online and there's lots and lots of mortgage commercials right now, and you're from large banks, is that they don't give you a lot of options. For example, should you buy the rate down? A really good example, or should you pay normal closing costs instead of low closing costs, which is 80% of what they think you need. For example, a loan amount of $500,000 at 4.25 is $24.59. That is the number. A loan amount of $510,000, so you're $10,000 more at 3.75 is $23.61. So what are you looking at? $10,000 more and a $98 a month payment or lower. That $98,000 equals $35,000 less over the life of the loan. Now you can have some more extreme scenarios like that with the larger loan amounts and smaller loan amounts. It changes, but the sense here, Gordon, is that people still get caught up on a purchase and they look at lower costs.
Well, one of the things that I have noticed over the last couple of years, Tony, and I guess we can attest this to the web, I find the mortgage consumer, maybe because of the crash, is a lot smarter consumer than what they used to be. Before, you spoke to a prospective buyer or refinancer, 30-year fixes, all they were looking at, what is the rate? Now I find the consumers are a lot more educated. They're a lot more prepared. They're well more versed on real estate jargon. They're asking, what are my options? If I went to a 5-year fix, went to a 7-year fix, what would it cost me to buy the rate down lower? What is my break-even point? So I think it's an attest to time that since consumers are more educated, they become better consumers, and we have a less reality of a lot of mortgage difference going on in the marketplace, mortgage fraud and those type of things, of people being bamboozled simply because they're more educated now. That's what I'm finding.
And I agree with that for the most part. It still gets me that I'll have people come from the other side, meaning the wholesale market, or the brokerage side of the business is growing and growing and growing. We only had a share of about 40%. After the crash, and it took us a while to get back because banks. I mean, look at this right here. Wells Fargo brokerage to return $3.4 million for risky products. I mean, we're starting to see this from big banks all the time, and it's because these banks are just I just don't like their tactics. I don't like their advertising. I don't like how they rope you in with application. Anyways, okay, so I'm not going to get started on banks, but I do agree that we have an educated consumer right now. A lot of that is out of pure necessity and survival instincts, and I don't want to make the same mistakes we did. That's why we see 30-year fixed all the time. And even though ARMs are coming, actually, we're working with a client right now that they have a $1.5 million loan. They could easily get a 30-year fixed 4% or whatever, but they're opting to get a 1% lower on an ARM because for 7 years, because they know that over that 7 years they're going to save $88,000. That's an educated consumer right there. $88,000. You divide that by 7 years, and you get roughly, what is that? 12,000 and some change every year.
84. Yeah.
That's a couple trips to Hawaii, or one really good trip to Hawaii every year. Or they save the money and they put it into a bank account, and in case they have to refinance, this is what I would do. They have $88,000 to do whatever they need to do on that loan. Why would you spend $88,000 more to have the same balance after the same period of time? I think we're starting to see more and more of that, and I think that's why our ARMs are coming back.
Yeah, I spoke to a customer just last week, and I did a loan a few years ago, and I kind of estimated what her balance should have been based upon a 4.75% rate on a 30-year fixed period. And I asked her, she says, "Oh no, I paid my mortgage on like $20,000." She said, "I have an amortization schedule. Every month I pay a little extra towards principal." She's trying to accelerate her mortgage payment. So people are more informed simply because there's more information that's accessible, and you don't have to pay for it. You can just go in and kind of run a what-if scenario, what you're trying to accomplish in your mortgage business. Because it's the biggest debt you're going to have, the average person will have, is a mortgage debt. And it's so important that we strive to speak to a professional, seek out services, go to more than one option if you're really involved in your real estate home and your pricing of your property and what you're trying to accomplish in the long term as far as investment in real estate.
When it's all said and done, it's all about it. For me, it's a lot of math. It really does come to math. I like math. Math is great. There's no black or white. It's just math. It either is or it is black and white. There is no gray area. It is or it isn't. It's kind of like approvals today. You either are or you're not approved. And we're not going to get into that.
Well, you can be approved with conditions. So that is not black and white. Because some of the conditions that we see come across the pipe, we wonder what was the underwriter thinking about when they wrote this particular condition.
We're not going to jump on underwriter. There's a lot of underwriters out there, and the past underwriters, future underwriters, and we don't want to get under their skin and because these people are really the machine behind the internal works of doing mortgages, and they really are good people. They're hardworking people. And, lenders and brokers and wholesale lenders, they all have to sell their loan to some sort of investor, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. FHA has to guarantee the loan, and there's jumbo loans, there's investors, there's people behind there that are saying, well, if we're going to sell this and give you that great rate, you have to underwrite it the way we want you to. And these people really do put up with a lot. You've seen it.
Well, the underwriter is in a mortgage company. The underwriter is actually the gatekeeper. The underwriter is responsible for making sure that they make good financial sound decisions when it comes to approving loans. Every broker or every customer that applies for a loan would like to get an approval, but however, not everybody should be approved because there's no basis for approving that loan. So that's what the underwriter's job is to do. Make sure that loan, first, can perform. The person can make the payment. Second, make sure that loan is sellable, because if that loan is not sellable, there's going to be repercussions on that underwriter for approving a loan that's not sellable.
It can come from years and years and years back, too.
Yeah.
There's something called buybacks you don't want to really get into. So, I mean, these are real people, and there are real people behind these loans. And as robotic as the industry wants to get, there's still going to be that person, that gatekeeper, so to speak. With that said, 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220. Get your calls on the air. Home remodeling is on the rise, but we're still seeing labor problems. According to the National Association of Home Builders, the remodeling index rose to 57. Anything over 50 is considered growing, and this includes projections of the future business from the point of view of the contractor. So they're pretty optimistic about the remodeling business. But a lot of the listeners that we have right now, you're 3 to 5 months out, Gordon, on any kind of project. If you can even get somebody to do an estimate, and you agree to the estimate, you're still 3 to 5 months out. And the costs are rising. There was a survey that showed that 90% of these respondents, meaning the actual contractors doing this work, said they're having difficulty hiring and keeping skilled labor. And this is up from 44%. So 44% to 90% from 2013, and it's continually getting worse. You're an expert in this type of business. You've done many remodels. You've done many resales, flips. For those who don't know that Gordon doesn't like that word, flips. But if you can't get somebody to work for you right away, you're leaking money on that project.
Well, it's funny. The minute you just mentioned that home remodeling is up, the first thing I went and took a quick glance at what the retail stocks are doing, the Home Depots and the Lowe's, and those stocks are up 30% for this 12-month period. Kind of shows you where people have gone. So as home improvement goes up, these companies are profiting from the good fortune that people are reinvesting in their homes. And banks are happy when people
I'm sorry, I got to stop you for that. Did you say prophesizing?
Yeah. That's what they're doing. They're making more money.
Profit side?
No, I like my word better.
Prophesizing. They're making money.
That's a biblical term.
Okay, prophesizing. All right, we're going to come back and talk about prophesizing after this break. I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines. You're listening to The Real Estate Report. You can always go to our website, BayAreaLoanSource.com, BayAreaLoanSource.com, or send us an email, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com. We'll be right back.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
When you're astray, faces come out of the rain. When you're stray.
Welcome back into The Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
So you were talking. Gordon Hines is the co-host here. Been in the business for 25 years plus. I think anybody who's owned a house can. That's what I hate is people. I'm in the real estate business, and they own a house and they own maybe one or two rental properties or something. But you've actually been.
You know what I call that? The Elmer J. Fudd syndrome. I own a mansion and a yacht. But anyway, go ahead.
All right. So part of the show is information, consumer warning here when buying a house. Watch out for scammers. I think every once in a while you're going to see these reports about scammers. And I'm going to talk about those fake letters that you get in the mail after you buy a house that say, oh, you want to get your title report and it costs you $89. It looks really official. You read the fine print down the bottom. It says, this is not a real bill. This is an advertisement, blah, blah, blah. Those are scams. But this scam is about down payments. So people buying a house, people are losing their whole down payments. Basically, a thief. They've found out that you're buying a house. They're monitoring your transaction through some sort of malware or something on your computer or your title company's computer or your lender's computer or whatever. And when it comes time for you to wire the money, they basically intercept that transmission and they send you a fake wire instructions and you send the money to the wrong place. And then whoosh, your money is gone. So this type of scam is up 480% in 2016, and it's estimated the cost of buyers $5.3 billion. So some of the things you want to do to protect yourself if you're buying a house, this is one of them. All right, and there's many. Look at any last minute changes, like the titles, names of people it's coming from, the email addresses. Verify everything when it comes time to sending the money. Use the phone to verify the information when we call the title company, or choose some sort of alternative method of payment. And there's some other scams that you want to be careful of. Renters. There's a lot of people out there renting. Make sure the house you're actually renting is an actual house. You'd be surprised how often that comes up. And the house is actually for rent. Make sure you go see the house. Mover scams. This is another one which is showing up FBI big flashes. When you move, make sure that you're using a reputable mover. This is a new scam that what they do is basically drive off with your stuff and they hold it for ransom until you pay more money. And I actually had somebody this happen to, and I learned that it really does happen is more often than you think. And then there's loan modification scams. It's probably one of the worst ones out there. People are already struggling and they need a modification, and then they start racking up fees and they say, okay, give me $5,000. We had a client not too long ago who had a tax scam against them where somebody knew that he owed some taxes, I don't know how, and got a call and says, listen, you got to put $10,000 on this debit card, and that you can use that debit card to go to the IRS, and you pay this. You plug in your number and it'll pay the bill. And they put it on the debit card and they lost $10,000. So be really careful about scams. Protect your identity.
Well, scams, it's just a good topic you brought up. Scams are not valid until it happens to you. It's only a scam when it happens to somebody else. And when it actually happens to you, you realize the consequence of scam. Like identity theft is one of those things that people never consider until it happens to them, and it lingers on for months and months and months. It can actually tie up everything as far as finance is concerned. The internet, of course, there are a lot of scams that come with the internet. A lot of information is public information, so a good scammer can find out stuff about you, and then that's how they kind of start. So, for example, the tax scam, anytime there's a tax lien filed, it's all public information. You can get a letter from the Internal Revenue looking very authentic, and you end up sending money to these websites and logging in and getting your password. So just be careful, is all our caution is when you use this much to the internet. Just be really, really careful. Double check and triple check before you hit that button send.
You can always call the show 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220, or email the show, Tony at BayAreaLoanSource.com. Some of the other things we're going to talk about today, smart gadgets for your house, the best ones for 2017. I like that topic. We'll get to that in the second half. Here's one interesting. California wildfire victims are eligible for mortgage and tax payment relief. More than 5,700 structures have been destroyed in the wildfires that began about a week or so ago. Individuals who live in the designated areas may be eligible to postpone mortgage and tax payments. I like this. It's such small print that it's hard for me to go over everything. Borrowers should contact their company to see if their payments are going to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. And you can go to something called Loan Lookup Tools.
Or just call your mortgage company.
Or call your mortgage company.
A lot of companies offers reprieval if you're in one of those impacted zones. They will defer making monthly payments. You have to call and check in.
Well, it says here Fannie Mae says they're going to stop. They're eligible to stop making mortgage payments in 3 months increments for up to 12 months. Those homeowners will not incur late fees or have delinquencies reported to credit reporting agencies firms during that time. So I like that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are stepping up, and they're forcing lenders to comply with this as part of their big package that they sign when they start selling these loans. Anyways, we'll come back after this break here on AM 1220 KDOW. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
Gordon Hines. And you can call the show 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220, or shoot us an email, Tony at BayAreaLoanSource.com.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
You can always go to our website, BayAreaLoanSource.com, for more information about what we do. Podcasts as well. We also do a newsletter. You can sign up for there. Sales, United States sales. Prices are keeping up, but sales are low. September became the 5th month this year to post a decline in home sales compared to a record-setting 2016, while marking the 71st consecutive month of rising sales prices year over year, according to RE/MAX housing report. Sales dropped 4.2% year over year in the report's monthly analysis of housing data in 54 metro areas. The median sales price increased to $225,000, which seems kind of weird here. The lowest price since March. It was 2.3% higher than September. So not, again, those moves we were talking about where there's, it might look like a big percentage or off of smaller numbers. Last month when the home prices did not increase year over year, the last time they did was 2011 when they didn't. Other 2017 notes at 3.6 months. That's what inventory we have is the lowest of any September in the reports for 9 years in its history. It's 23 markets are 3 months or less in inventory. Mirroring this, inventory dropped 14.1% year over year, with 46 metro areas seeing fewer homes for sale. Year over year, inventory has declined every month since November of 2008.
I had an investor last week.
You hear that?
I had an investor last week call me about that same topic. He says, Gordon, what's your thought process? He says, all I'm hearing is, and I'm seeing very few properties for sale in the marketplace. What's going to happen? If there are no houses to buy, what's going to happen? Are you concerned? That's what he asked me. What's your thought process on that?
I think it's separating the people who can and cannot buy. That's the one thing we are going to see. I think it is also going to shift people from places like the Bay Area to places like Washington. On this list, Seattle, Washington is 13.7% year over year increases. Providence, Rhode Island, 13. Las Vegas, 12.2. Tampa, Florida, 11.4. We're going to see more and more of these double-digit numbers growing in places that are more affordable. And we're going to see, we saw Tesla do it to Reno. And other companies that move to Reno. There's 8 other ones supposedly that are moving there we don't know about because people can't talk about it, but there's people moving to Reno. And this is going to happen in cities all across the West. It's going to happen in cities around the nation. We've given out lists about this before of some of these cities that are benefiting from the what do you want to call it? It's not an exodus, but it's just people are just saying, I can't afford it here. I can't afford rents here. I'm going to move to a city where my life is going to be better.
Well, one thing that I have noticed that it is actually doing, it's actually creating an actually good balance in home prices. So if you look at the high price areas in our cities here, surrounding cities, San Francisco being the top, the further outlying cities being the bottom. And what I'm actually seeing now, because of affordable housing and because of lack of inventory, we're finding that once again, those places like Stockton, Tracy, the Central Valley, Sacramento, those areas now are picking up higher percentage of moves because of the low end price in which you can buy in those areas versus the San Francisco marketplace.
Central Valley is leading practically the nation. California has, I think, 12 of the top 20 online searches for real estate in the nation, and Stockton's in the top. They're like 4th or 3rd. For some reason, but the Central Valley really does crush that statistic across the board. It's because, there's a revitalization of these smaller towns, these 2nd and 3rd tier cities, and I think we're going to continue seeing that. So to answer your question, I think it's just it's a way for a big city to, kind of flesh out what can and what cannot afford, and that's comes down to affordability.
And one of the things that we always talk about is low income housing. The governor, Jerry Brown, just signed a bill that's going to create low-income housing, but it's going to be at an expense to the consumer. So for every transaction that's closed, each buyer is going to be paying a fee towards low-income housing as far as a catalyst so people invest more in low-income housing. So it's kind of interesting
how
where
that
it's going
works
to come
out.
from.
We'll come back after this break. I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines. You can always go to our website, BayAreaLoanSource.com, or call the show, 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220. We have an email coming up, and you can always email the show, Tony at BayAreaLoanSource.com.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I am Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
Enjoy a caller or two. 800-516-1220. 800-516-1220.
Or if you're next to a fax machine, you can fax us your question at 925-299-5395.
We still haven't got a fax yet.
We will. We will.
I'll put money down.
Well, a lot of people are moving away from fax. Technology, technology
There's a lot
changes.
of people listening who go, "What's a fax?"
Yeah, as technology changes, the fax machine is the fax
amazing.
machine was the most popular machine there is, and now it's lost its sizzle.
It's amazing that you asked me the other day. You said, "Should we keep our fax?" I mean, yeah, absolutely. You'd be surprised how going through the loan process, how many times that you have to fax something. Insurance companies, especially, they don't do. You got to fax the request, and I'm like, that's why we keep this thing. You can always email the show, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com. We got an email from Cruz. I'm interested in buying a second home as a rental. So he's basically buying a rental in Vegas. My current home has about $200,000 in equity. Does a cash out refinance on my primary make sense, or what other options exist? So I'll give you an example. If you're buying a $300,000 house and you want to put $100,000 down, you're borrowing $200,000. Let's just say that's what you're buying in Vegas. So you're $200,000 loan. And so for me, the only thing that matters is cash flow. If you already have that $100,000, that's great. But if you don't and you need to get it from your house, fantastic. That's fantastic too, because you're actually borrowing it from your primary residence, and you can get a lower rate even on a cash out transaction in most cases, depending on your credit score, than you would on the rate on the rental property, because rental rates are much higher. So, however, if you have some money and you may or may not need it to get to that 20-25% down, then the only time I would consider doing it is if you could actually buy the new house and completely in cash, because then you have a lot more buying power and negotiating power when you buy, and you can push out other competitors and you probably get a better deal. What do you think?
Well, I mean, Vegas is as we talked before, Vegas is a very affordable market. There's a lot of housing going up right there in Vegas right now. I guess the first question I'd have to go back and look at, does Vegas qualify as a second home market? I would probably have to.
He wants to buy. I think he just didn't say it right. He wants to buy a
second property.
A second property as a rental.
The rental. Okay, so there that problem has been solved. So if you look at from a pricing standpoint, I'm seeing houses in Vegas, brand new houses from $150,000 on up. So $100,000 is not a lot of money. If you're talking $150,000 house, probably would look at I would probably recommend, on a small loan amount, I would definitely recommend looking at a shorter term mortgage, 15-year fix, somewhere along that ballpark. That way he can build up equity a lot faster and, make it work for him.
What about someone who has the equity like he does, and maybe he has some other debt that he can pay off, and maybe he's had his current mortgage for a period of time, and maybe we can keep the rate the same or lower, and all of a sudden he's going, okay, I paid off some debt, I lowered my rate, I re-amortized, and now I'm actually borrowing the money for, I don't want to say free, but your overall payments are the same. And then all of a sudden your down payment to put the money in this house, you're maximizing your cash flow. You're leveraging.
He's leveraging. That's what we want to do. It's important to leverage.
I would definitely look at all the options. And unfortunately, he didn't give me us enough information to make that determination. But we'll get there. And I think that a good loan officer and a good company will give you both the options, and hopefully. And I mean hopefully, and I'm saying this to all the large banks, that you're not going to say, oh yeah, that cash out refinance makes sense, when it might not. I'm going to, and I'm sure Gordon will too. We'll be honest with you, and we're going to give you the options. You make the decision and go talk to your CPA or your CFP and make the decision on your own. But just just because some real estate guy says, oh yeah, that's the right decision to take $200,000 out of your house and buy that property and do it. Don't take that. I mean, just be really careful about that.
This is a consumer that we were talking about earlier. This is a guy that seems to be a little bit more educated than we were before. We being me, I'm also a consumer myself, and he's looking at his options, and that's what we always recommend. He's calling us because we're professionals, and he's looking at his options on what option can I use to obtain a second property utilizing leverage. That seems to be the qualifying question, and we seem to have the qualifying answer.
Definitely run your numbers and look at all your options. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
And hopefully you're not being convinced without doing all of your research that a refinance out of your primary residence is the ultimate goal. Because who knows? Maybe somebody says, oh yeah, if you pull out $200,000, you can buy 2 properties instead. So that actually might start making sense if there's cash flow. You need the options.
This day in history, we talked about that earlier. Today is we every week we tend to mention this day in history. Some weeks we have better information than others. Some weeks it's just nothing happening this day in history as far as real estate is concerned. Today is a pivotal day, October 19th, 1987. The stock market crashed. Stock market fell 23% in one day, or 506 points. It closed at 1736. Today the stock market closed at 23,163. So 30 years later, the market that crashed.
Let me guess. 1,300%.
1,340, 135%. The market's actually up, which is it's a substantial swing in where things can go from bottom to top, which is a great thing. Also, just realized today, also October 19th, 1991, famous Oakland Hills fire. We lost 1,600 structures in that disaster fire, and we have this disaster fire that we're just kind of hopefully looks like it's finally under control in the Santa Rosa, North Bay, Napa area. So history always tend to repeat itself.
Is that
Yes.
it?
Well, Blockbuster.
Blockbuster.
Oh, yeah, 1985, her first Blockbuster store opened. A lot of people that might not know what Blockbuster is. That was the start of the video trend. We had all these video stores that popped up over the years, going back to the early 80s. Then Blockbuster and I think Hollywood Video came in, kind of monopolized it. Everybody was running to Blockbuster, buying popcorn, renting movies. Then all of a sudden, here comes Netflix. Here comes those rental stations in the grocery stores, and all of a sudden, Blockbuster became a dinosaur. And last but not least, John DeLorean was arrested today,
That
1991.
was such a crazy story, wasn't it?
Wasn't
he
but
carrying like cocaine or something in his car?
he was, but he was a maverick in the car industry, believe it or not. I mean, John DeLorean is compared to Elon Musk. He kind of revolutionized the market. Actually, took on the big three, and I don't know what happened, but Elon Musk it looks like he's going to sustain where John DeLorean didn't.
Just across the wire, Mercury News put out a story where Lawrence Yun, chief economist of the
Lawrence
my
Hugh?
battery, National Association of Realtors, just said in an interview today that the Bay Area housing bubble will not burst. Will not burst. So National Association of Realtors is loving the Bay Area. They're saying it's all about housing supply. I
And
tend to
demand.
agree with him. I can throw out many reasons why I think the real estate market here is pretty solid. We can probably get back to this after the break.
Okay.
I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines. You can call the show 800-516-1220. We'll be right back.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back in to the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
Thanks for being with us for this hour. We're about to wrap everything up.
This is the fastest hour in show business. I'm telling you, this hour goes too swiftly.
Maybe we'll talk slower. It'll sound slower.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I get accused of speaking fast regardless, so.
No, you don't. You're pretty methodical.
Okay. Well, I tell
right,
people
I'm not-
I don't speak
yeah.
fast. They listen slow.
Somebody called, and not really called, but they emailed us and said that, Phoenix, we talk about Vegas all the time, but Phoenix real estate, they are running into an inventory problem that I think is getting pretty problematic as well. 10% down year over year on their inventory. Their home prices are only up 0.9 year over year, but last September, 2 Septembers ago, it was 11.6. So they're seeing some real big problems with inventory. What do you think of Phoenix?
I actually like Phoenix. I like all the warm weather ports, if you ask me. I used to spend time in Phoenix every year with my kids. So I actually do like Phoenix. That whole Arizona, Scottsdale, Phoenix area, Red Mountain, I love it.
I do too. It was one of my choices for my. I like saying one of my choices for my parents, but my parents ultimately picked a different Western city. But Phoenix or the outlying areas was one of the list. We want to talk about gadgets in your home. 2017 is the year for gadgets in your home, and there's quite a few of them. One of them could be the Tesla battery. It may not be in your house, but it may be down the street. So some of the infrastructure is looking at putting these Tesla batteries in some of these big transformer boxes, and you might end up actually being powered by one of these boxes. But there's a whole bunch out there. Some of this, and what we really want to see, Gordon, is these connected to your phone, your smartphone or your tablet or at your computer at work, some sort of app to run everything. And there's a bunch of these what they call hubs that are coming out, but they can run everything from your Alexa or some sort of Google home thing, and your security cameras, even your switches, your lights, your light switches, and your plugs that control all of your lights and everything like that. Your thermostat, your smoke detector. I think Nest is fantastic. Yet some of the there's some other ones that are coming out. I like Nest. Have you put those in any of your properties yet?
Well, actually, I was looking at buying one for my home for that great programmable thermostat. I kind of looked at the instructions and kind of got gun shy. I haven't done it yet, but I will. I think it's a great investment. Most people I know that have bought it are very, very happy with it. You know, you can control it from your phone. You can turn on and off your power. You headed home early one day and you got your thermostat set to come on at 6 and you want to be warm when you get home at 3. You can program it from your car. By the time you get home, that furnace is fired up and ready for you by the time you get there.
I think you should get a good smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector. Nest, they provide one. They can get pricey, I think, on the day after, what do they call it, Black Friday? And the day after Thanksgiving. I think people should start looking at Amazon and seeing if you can buy some of these and get a discount. But there's another one called the Roost Smart Battery. This is only $35. So there are some discounts. And you can get these hubs. There's one called the Best Smart, or the... This is from Samsung. They haven't priced it out yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to come out before Christmas. And then you have like garage door openers. You have your smart home locks. I like, and I hate commercials, but I like the commercial for the app that you can be. Somebody walks up to your door, and it triggers a motion sensor, and it tells you who's at your front door. I love these types of technologies, and I like how they're integrating them into your home, and you can control them with either a hub or even if it's multiple apps. I think people like apps, and hey, I got all these apps, and as a homeowner, I think this could be a trend. And are you concerned at all about how it's any security issues with that?
Well, not really. There are a lot of different security
So
apps.
people can kind of break into
as
that?
we talked about. You can be at your office and seeing somebody ring your doorbell at home and see
love
who
that.
it is. So there's all kinds of things that are out there. I think this is like if you're a gadget person, I think every year there's a gadget show in Las Vegas. But just for your home, there's so many different things and innovation ideas that have come on the market recently, and they're very affordable. So we recommend look at it. If you have a question, give us a call. We're here every Thursday, 6 to 7 drive time. I'm Gordon Hines, and that is
Tony Mendez. You can go to our website, BayAreaLoanSource.com. We'll come back next week. Thanks for joining us.
Launching your own business is scary and a leap of faith. How do you separate yourself from the competition or position yourself as unique? Being able to tap into the loyal KDOW audience gave Cinnamon Solar instant credibility. Today, I can proudly say it was one of the best business decisions I've ever made. This is Barry Cinnamon, president of Cinnamon Solar. I was surprised at how inexpensive it is to promote on the radio. If you want your business to soar, do what I did. Call KDOW and tell them you want to be successful, just like Cinnamon Solar. This is Barry Cinnamon, and I'm proof that promoting on the radio works.
Hi, I'm Johnny Dean.
And I'm Rick the Professor Plum.
Every day on Bucket Strategy Investing, we're talking about financial planning, investment decisions, and retirement strategies.
We focus on wealth education and the strategy designed for the needs you have today.
And the goals you have for the future. Tune in to Bucket Strategy Investing.
And call in with questions.
Retirement strategies, taxes, Social Security, and more. That's what we're talking about on Bucket Strategy Investing.